Okay, so if that's my background, right? That's the story that I'm coming out of. That I've always been entrepreneurial. I've started a lot of things. I've taken big risks to like come to a new country to say what are the new ways that the gospel works in contemporary society and how's that inform new communities. And then we hit this, things have to change. Like, we really want to get sustainable and resilient. Things have to change. And so I think there are two things I want to bring into this conversation. One is like more the personal process. Like, as I look back, when I realized it took the kind of process for me as a leader to lead the organization through the change. And then I think there's the process we had to do together and some of those tools and resources we can pull on. So I think the first thing that had to happen was we had to recognize that it didn't matter. We were working harder, we were working longer, we had more skills, we had all the opportunities we wanted, but I had to recognize that we were spinning our wheels, that what was working, what looked like it was working externally really wasn't working internally. So I had to recognize that something really did have to change, and not just a small change, not just a plaster or a band-aid put on something, but we really had to make some deep changes. So I had to recognize that and then really seek the Lord on that actually I didn't think the Lord wanted us working in this kind of startup grind for 50 years. That as our community, as we were getting older and people were having families, we needed a different rhythm to life than when we were young adults. I think the second piece is grief. That with that is to really take some time and acknowledge that there's gonna be some loss, and that as you start making changes that you acknowledge that loss. And I had to give myself permission to really grieve that and to feel the pain, because I think that actually helps you be authentic as you're leading, particularly for people who came to faith in our community, or who had made a vocational sidestep and they had pain. It's like I had to do my own work of grief. The third thing was then learning we were so much about learning from the projects, like what to implement and how to create tools. But I think it's overall like taking a bigger snapshot and a whole and trying to learn what we were learning, and not being afraid to mine our experience and learn from it. And then I think there was this sense of renewed vision, that not to just continue on, right? Like, we're so good sometimes at leading and doing the next thing and just keeping on going. But I think when you take something back to the studs, or when you really lay it all on the altar and you go through grief and you start learning and really mining the lessons, you then get to kind of remember, like, what is this all for? Like, what are we really here for? Because we could just shut it all down. I mean, we were at that place. We could just close our doors. But, what are we really here for? And it's that renewed vision. And for me, it was like, no, I really believe that we need new examples of what Christian community looks like at this point in history. And I really believe in social enterprise and new economic models. And that when those two things come together, it can be powerful in terms of society and reach new people. So I could go back to that sense of, no, okay, well, where's that vision take me now? So that renewed vision, which then leads easily to reimagined practice. So I think that framework was like my personal framework that I had to go through as I was leading this change process. So recognition where things weren't working and really owning that and being bold and taking some risk. Grief, like really feeling the loss and experiencing the pain. Learning, okay, what am I really learning here? What have we learned in this process? Why are we here? Then renewed vision and reimagined practice. But that's the leader's journey, right? Like the internal journey of the leader, but then it's how do you lead a community on a discernment process to go somewhere new? When you know it's time for change, when you know there's going to be radical change within the community. And so for us at Rooted Good, we really went back and we mined the process of our organization to create the What Now tool, because it was like, what were the tools that helped us? And so the first is you get to start with that renewed vision, right? What do you exist to do? And what are you good at? And what are you not good at? And like remembering kind of where you've built capacity in the past. So a little bit of looking back and celebrating, right? Like celebrating where we've succeeded in the past and letting people tell their stories. I think one of the things that shocked me in our process was the stories other people told, the things they remembered. They weren't necessarily the things I remembered, but the things that were meaningful in the life of the community or the life of the staff. You know, letting them look back and tell those stories. So What Now was this tool, and it's free to download if you're interested. You can find it on the Rooted Good website. But so you do this, what is your mission really? And you get to look back and then look forward. 5 years from now, what do we really want people saying about our work? And then how are we responding to the needs? And then for us at Rooted Good and now Matryoshka House, it's what are the needs in the world right now that we're trying to respond to? And then what are the needs in the community? And then what are the assets that we bring to bear? So what are our resources that we can bring to bear? And then if you're starting from scratch, it's like, okay, how do you put all these things together? And then how do you experiment? But also in the midst of that, in the middle of our process, and we also encourage people to do this as part of the What Now tool, is also create some markers, because there's gonna be some change. So as you let go of some things, you stop doing some things and you start doing other things. You know, the church is great at ritual. So let's pull out some of our tools that we have to offer society in this moment and use them. And so we created a big service that had some real ritual in it, which really helped people grieve and mark this moment that we were in before we went into new iterations of the organization. So I think, you know, whether you use What Now or not, I think what I found in Lean Change is find some tools that help you have really good consensus conversations around difficult decisions, difficult issues that allow everyone's voices to be heard. And I'm a big believer in that. But I think in communities, it's more and more important that we help bring people together that probably have really different opinions, but they get to be in conversation together, and then together you can move somewhere new. So, you know, we are always developing tools to help people do that, because we found it the most important thing in our own experience. So this is, I was going to do this in 3 parts, but I just kept talking. So I hope that's okay. You got my story in part 1, and you're getting my kind of some tools and frameworks in part 2. But I think, you know, leading through change, this is because I'm an entrepreneur. I love change. I love starting things new. And I know that's not everyone's cup of tea, but you know, we're in a point in history where I think the world is crying out to see who's going to lead? Where is our moral leadership? And I think there are great opportunities for the church, but we're going to have to change to do it, because we've been so caught up in our own ways of doing things. And so I think all the change that's going on is just such a great opportunity for the church to say, you know, who has God made us to be as the people of God in this moment? And how can we engage with the world in new ways? And out of that, to see people formed and discipled. Okay. I hope this has helped. So leading through change, all the best. If you want to get in touch with me, you can reach me at shannon.hopkins@rootedgood.com. Oh no, rootedgood.org. Sorry. Okay, cheers. Bye.